Milk with cereals. So, hello guys. We have a break before the laptop closed. So, for this reason, we weren't connected. But now we have a small break and we are continuing. Hello to the three people that you're watching us. We're starting in a bit. We are in a break currently. Do you hear us? If yes, please text me.
É o que ela chama. Sim. Mas supostamente eu posso ter uma pessoa que uma pessoa. Isto não. Não, Ana, entras no traçadinho. Para hoje à noite.
Menos dinheiro. É que tu hesitaste, não é? Comprar. Não, só porque
Olha isto.
ela agora dizia, já
Eu
tenho
tenho
dois.
Beijo bem. Se calhar não.
Eles começam a pagar os dinheiros. Hoje é dia 18, Marco.
Hã?
Hoje é dia 18, faltava para dar uma lá. Ah, sim, já. Então, pergunta. Não sei, com 2 dias, não. Não sei se ela vai ter posto. Ah,
Então, o que é que estás achando?
Muito dinheiro.
Muito dinheiro? Mas ainda falta um, que eu não sei onde é que eu meti.
Nossa, brinca com foto.
Podes ver se tens fotos disso.
Hello, people. Do you want to speak from the position of the candidate?
Yes, both the candidates.
Okay. Is this good?
Wait.
Effie, can you hear me?
Yeah, all good. Thank you, Tarek.
Press forward again. Forward.
Can you start? Okay. We are going to send the questions to the WhatsApp group, okay? Yes. So the first question is, since you mentioned a lot of our brand positioning in your application, we can start stop continue analysis of our current marketing know-how.
Something to start. For me, when it comes to continue, first of all, for me, brand position is also related to UI. Whereas it's important that some else but to have some else, for example, the fact that have worked on UI and so have started to get results out of that. Whereas before, even the university wasn't willing to talk to them in that sense. So I would say continue this focus on UI, strengthening this relation with universities, with the city halls, for example. Now continue. I believe it's something that we started this year and we continued in the sense of capitalizing specific holidays, specific dates to position ourselves on social media, for example. Now, when it comes to start, first of all, the consistency. If I will open the Isaac Instagram page, for example, of Isaac Portugal, it's inconsistent. Like you speak forum, we have Isaac membership, GV, GT. And also, when you see the customer journey, the B2C customer journey, there are specific phases, and one of them is awareness. Currently, I don't think that we are working enough on that phase. We're directly, hey Edna, do you want to go on a GP? Do you want to go on a GT? So for me, I would start also to engage more in topics to raise awareness, not so directly, hey, do you want an exchange? But rather engaging with the topics going around the world as well, for us to build a community and then also nurture this community so that we can increase as well the brand positioning and the results we're getting from social media. So for me, continue. I would say this work at LC level in terms of UI, this positioning, and I would start, which is also related to stop, the consistency in social media, how we position ourselves, which type of message we want to give, we want to drive to our customers. How do you feel reading a post of Isaac in Portugal on LinkedIn on our social media as well? And the next thing is also capitalize more on TikTok, that we're not as present as they are. We're still on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, and we're not still, for example, on TikTok. So for me, that's start. Thank you.
Okay. Now, bearing in mind that opening expansions requires a lot of work and support, and the transitions to LCs implies growth, I want you to take the next few minutes to explain what was behind your reasoning and what strategies you would implement to ensure growth and the transition of these 4 expansions to LCs by the end of 2026.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for the question, first of all. Now, indeed, in my application, I mentioned 10 LCs, and I meant by the end of 2026. However, I'd like to make a point here. After I also got to talk to many other people, I also got feedback from the LCPs, and something that I also would like to change in my approach is not having rather than 10 and local entities, but rather 8 entities by the end of 2026. Peter, why are you doing this? For me, my reasoning behind when I was proposing increasing 10 is that, as Isaac observed, that a lot of times we're waiting for us to be in the perfect moment. Once we have all the products running, we have global picture, then we're going to start a new one. And when you take entities, for example, Sri Lanka, that managed to grow a lot in the past years, they had other strategies. For example, we have COVID, and what a lot of dentists did, they started doing exchanges. They completely stopped their growth path. And when you look at Sri Lanka, for example, no, they did the opposite. They open more and more expansions. So that's my reason. I don't think that as Isaac should always wait to be every single mature because it's never going to be mature. We're always going to have problems. Now, in terms of structure to support these in total eight local entities. Currently have 6 LCs, which means that this strategy supports our GAD plus another expansion that you're going to decide based on the market as well. In terms of structure, something I would like to use is applies on the ODN expansions model, ODN expansions, ODN expansions, and have a structure with team leader expansions, the S2 structure that supports the management of these expansions. And also, my structure, it also supports the financial sustainability in the way that the MC, or MC with the ODN expansions, can also capitalize on visits as well to build the culture of that expansion for capacity building as well, so that they can succeed. So that's how I see it. In the beginning, I admit that I put 10 local entities, but after reflection and analyzing data, I would rather focus on solving the bottlenecks we have currently in the LCs, for example, is recruitment, and then opening our GAD in another expansions, and then giving support to the MC, capacity building, and coaching and visits as well.
Thank you. Now, the next question is, imagine you don't have enough pipeline for the structure you envision. What will be your action plan, and how will be your restructuration of the positions?
Okay, I can start. First of all, it's something that I already have started working, is that I have mapped out in terms of pipeline, both like nationally, for example, have already sense of people who want to possibly apply for MC, and some that have also capitalized even since the beginning of my term, or in terms of positioning. So as part of the global BD steering team, for example, I'm very active on the social the networks, GCP sharings as well. For example, the last network call, I was also capitalized on it to bring this awareness more about Portugal. And when I say this, it's not necessarily like it's for me, but rather say, hey, I'm a person, I'm a CVP from Portugal. And how I would see it, I've already mapped out some people that, for example, they're applying for MCP in other entities and not getting elected. This means that they still have a strong why for Isaac and their potential returners. Secondly, people also in the region and also globally that have profiles I want for my team. so that I can capitalize on the global BGCO team to position Isaac in Portugal, and also the international next touch points, Euro Expo, and also even other regional summits, for example, that might happen. So in that way, mapping out and targeting people nationally and also internationally to guarantee the structure. In terms of skills, for example, when you look at BD and BD, we would preferably want people with sales skills, but it's something that can be learned through transition. For example, one of my strategies also capitalize a lot on alumni, so for mentorship as well, which is also something that I have started doing, for example, last week. Now, let's say that Israel, we don't have necessary structure. How are you going to change? I would cut the MCVP PG and depending on the budget to see have an MCPG manager. So it's also some MCPG manager in that sense. Some positions that can be remotely as well, and they also have a lower salary than the MC. And so for that, my structure would be an MCVP OT instead of expansions, with a lower focus on expansions, and then MCVP BG, and possibly MCP, EWA, and PR. So for me, it's SBG contributes to the direct sustainability of the MC to have it bring this revenue so that we can improve the financial stability of the entity, and the MC can start focusing more on investment to support the LCs to grow in exchanges.
Now, what kind of evolutions do you envision for the capacity building of each layer from member to MCP in order to increase our exchanges volume?
I can go. First thing, when it comes to capacity building, before we talk about skills, we need to talk about mindsets. I might have all of the skills. I might have the best sales skills of the entity or marketing skills. But if I don't understand why we're here, then they won't work. So first thing is from day one, and this membership understand that we do cross-cultural exchanges, and regardless of your goal, if you want to develop yourself, if you want to impact other people, if you want to create an impact on your community, exchange is the answer. So first thing, from onboarding, from recruitment, having this message aligned. Now, when it comes to capacity building itself, capitalize on NEC, so have a alumni revamp NEC in a way that is something practical and is also engaged throughout the year, with a bigger focus on the early stages of the timeline. If we do capacity building, for example, in May, let's say about sales, in May, they should already be active in sales. So use the capacity building, align the capacity building to the timeline. Focus on, for example, educating them in January and February, and then also driving actions. And when it comes also to the local educational cycle, and also focusing on the practicality of it. Because from what I was talking, for example, to MXP, in some else the local educational cycle is very theoretical, just a session. But how can we align it? How can we see a whole path and align the local educational cycle to what we want our membership to develop? And how can we also make it engaging? For example, Edna, you learned something about sales. Okay, here's the concept. Let's have it. Simulations. Great. In practice, I give you feedback. In that way, we improve. So for me, it would be in this way. And then also involve, for example, for us to have remote exchanges, important for the membership to understand which IR partners we're working with. And one activity that I also implement was body systems that can be implemented to any other layer, also to increase IR management as well. And for the membership to understand that when I go to a hackathon, I want to group with these specific entities. And these are the ones that are going to help us create more leadership stories.
In your application, you mentioned the improvement of recruitment and its capitalization in two of your pillars of your vision. What are the main bottlenecks related with it currently, and how do you envision to scale it in the entity?
Okay, perfect. I can start. First of all, when I mention my application improve recruitment, I know it sounded relatively generic, so I appreciate the question. I can also answer. So for me, when it comes to improvement, I can make two main points. The peer attraction. Have we done like how I capitalize on peer attraction? I was talking to other entities also to understand how they do stronger recruitments, stronger being the word. And for example, when you look at Serbia, they have a specific timeline, a pre-attraction timeline, in which they go to the universities and they say, "Are you ready to?" And they spread the stickers everywhere. So as a university student, I go there and I'm like, "Are you ready to? Ready to what?" And then this is the pre-attraction. They go, for example, we can go to a restaurant. For example, where is our membership go inside universities? It is a very specific restaurant inside the Coimbra, for example, that the students go. So leave, for example, like a QR code. And when I mean pre-attraction, is to combine it with the attraction itself. I give this example of Serbia, that they go, everyone say, "Hey, I'm ready to." When the recruitment starts, they put the logo of Isaac. So if for me, for some time, I was checking, "Are you ready to?" "Are you ready to what?" The recruitment starts saying, "Are you ready to join Isaac?" And there is a link. So it's something that sparks curiosity to capitalize on the pre-attraction timeline. We all know that we're going to have recruitment twice per year. So why are we leaving it, like, for example, for the last minute? For example, we all know that we have a specific that we want in Isaac. So why, for example, LCs still struggle with the persona, still struggle to understand? Israel, I know my persona. Okay, then why is it, for example, if you look open the tools, why is it not there still? So I'd say also the next thing is also to promote membership experience more often throughout the year. We promote exchange the whole time, and we only promote membership, Isaac member, twice a year. Hey, we're good. Applications open, join Isaac. And for me, to upscale in the term would be first to capitalize on pre-attraction as well, to have 2 weeks. How can we use it strategically, capitalizing on our partnerships as well. And secondly, having clarity the persona we want, what type of profiles we want in the organization, and where we can also find them. And third thing, promoting membership more throughout the year as well, having this more consistent message. If I want to join Isaac, for example, September, what do? I have to wait till December? By that time, I have lost interest, for example. So think about these things and implementing extra steps to drive more membership and have more successful recruitment as well. And not for us to be achieving our results, let's say, in the last minutes.
No. What do you mean by develop a yearly strategy for reward with value propositions adapted? What are these value propositions and how And now it will ensure a better collaboration between universities and ISEC.
First of all, when you talk about UA, one of the main bottlenecks is that it's relatively inconsistent. And even UA, PR, a lot of partnerships, also based on my conversations with the LCs, they get lost specifically during transition periods, for example, either at MC level or also LC level. And for me, when I mentioned yearly strategy for UA, first, I'm talking about understanding what universities value. Because a lot of times, the university, they don't see the value in Isaac because they don't think that we give them back enough. And for that, they tend to prefer other associations who, for example, do events inside the universities. So first of all, is to map out what do the universities or the faculties, what do they want? For example, they want more employability. They want to improve the employability of the students, for example. So understand what are their needs, and after that, when we personalize our message. So, and when I say personalize our message, I don't say about losing our essence. I say about explaining how we, as Isaac, we improve the employability of those people. So, for example, Edna, we have this person who studied English, and because of Isaac, they become observed, they become more employable, for example. So we say first understanding their needs, secondly, personalizing our message, and thirdly, engage with them. So, okay, we do meetings, but for example, if I have leadership weekends, I can invite the one person who represents to one professor to give a workshop or to join a panel discussion. And then I can bring an alumni from my LC, for example, and drive the thing in a way that the person from the university sees the relevance of Isaac. Not necessarily also because of the alumni as well. So that's what I mean, to understand what they want. Secondly, to engage with them strategically, capitalize, for example, now we're on Christmas. Have you sent, for example, some type of gift, Isaac stickers to one person from your university, from one professor, saying, hey, thank you for contributing to the leadership development this year. And also bring them to leadership weekends as well. So when I mean you are yearly strategy is to have this project in phases, because it's not something we do like this. It's something that one phase in the first 2 months, for example, we understand what university wants for us. Second, how we're going to engage with them, and then we continue and follow up on them, and how we're going to ensure better collaboration. When investors understand more what we do, they become much more supportive. And of course, there are some investors that are more restrictive than others, for example, in this one, for example. But also to understand, capitalize on investors that are also supporting us to drive this. And when I say that, that specifically faculty inside the university supporting Isaac is a social proof. So if that faculty is supporting Isaac, then maybe I can also give a try and become more cooperative with them. So that would be my yearly strategy for UA. And I see the MCS giving guidelines, support for the LCs to implement this as well.
Good morning. Your 3 strategies are about brand, membership, and operations, with the last one having as sub-strategy finances. As you didn't mention any MOS for finance throughout the application, what do you want to achieve financially in your term?
Perfect, I can go. In terms of financial KPIs, financial MOS, first of all, at least 30,000 euros in our bank account, with us being full members, having the rights to vote, and also apply for global awards. Third thing is having around 7 months of cash reserves. Currently, our fixed costs are around 4K as well. And with this, having contribution from BT bringing around 80,000 euros and PG around 25,000 euros of CSS. So that's how I see. And if you want also in terms of contribution, for example, the products operationally, my focus would keep being OGV. OGV bring around 40% of the results, followed by IGV 30%, then IGTA 20%, and OGT 10%. So those are my financial finance MOS, 30K, being full member, 7 months of cash reserves.
Thank you. Now, what will be your unique contribution in the need to manage and represent Isaac in Portugal in the term 25-26? Why are you the most suitable person for this role?
That's it. Okay, perfect. I can go. First, for me, the MCP is the mirror of the entity. Is the entity that the person that other entities see, observe the MCP, and that person is a reflex of the entity. So in terms of representation, and it's also something that I've done a lot, even in past terms, not necessarily having a P role, is a lot in terms of representation. So being international FACEs, like I was in Greece, in Romania, Euro Expo as well. Capitalizing on positions like GST, steering team, for example, MCP steering team, representing Isaac in Portugal for other regions, for them to see that, hey, this is one of the fastest growing entities in Europe as well. And also working with the LCs as well. So for example, my structure, initially it might look like it's not exchange oriented because I put DNPD. But my goal here is to increase the financial stability of the MC so that in the second semester we can focus on giving more support for the LCs, having more visits, investing more. So we're working with the LCs as well and not against the LCs, focusing a lot on MC to relations, is something that we've done really well as MC Core and I want to continue. And why am I the person? Look, I've been in operations for quite a lot of time, except now in this current term. And I'm one of the most exchange-oriented person, let's say, you meet, because I've seen the power of an exchange. I've seen how an exchange can shape someone. And the reason why I joined Isaac was because I did an exchange. It was not even Isaac, and it was still like relevant. Imagine if I had done an exchange with Isaac as well. And the second thing is, it's also related to how I've been feeling today, because usually I'm not a person who gets nervous, you know. But today's a moment you could clearly see that I was nervous. And for me, this is a sign. This is a sign that I care about this entity. This is a sign that this is important for me, and that is why it makes me nervous, for example. And for me, it would be being exchange oriented, and second, the passion to lead your next term.
Now, which was your main realization of your term from your MC term so far? How will you capitalize it on your MCP term?
Okay, I can go. For me, since I was a lot, like for 4 years in operations, I was in a type of bubble, let's say. And now when I went to being MCP, BDN, or APR, I got more of an external perspective. So I'm the person who is like approaching a random person at a company saying, hey, have you heard about Isaac? And something that I realized is that a realization that we're not as much relevance as we are. Even though there's so much relevance. For example, one of the things of my proposal is Isaac Talents. So basically it's connecting a company to Isaac Talents. Because we're people who develop so many skills that are relevant for them. Even though right now it might not be obvious for them. But if you look at Isaac in 5, 10 years, that person has like done an amazing journey. So for me, the first realization was how Isaac's not. People don't think that Isaac's that relevant, but it actually is. It is relevant. So that how we're not as much visible as we should be, as well. And how I'm going to implement it in my term. A lot. I propose also in my pillars. I have a pillar in terms of also brand of exchanges, to make sure that more and more people, more and more partnerships, they understand the value of Isaac. We're more relevant to the society. We're impacting more people, and that more and more members they understand the impact of an exchange. That one approval is equal many leadership stories. So for me, it would be this realization, in the sense that we're not as visible as we should be, but at the same time, how much relevant we are.
Now, you proposed a 2-year roadmap for improving digital presence and communication. What innovative digital strategies would you prioritize, and how would you measure their effectiveness in enhancing recruitment and brand recognition?
I can go. First of all, this roadmap, it consists of phases. For example, in the first phase, we do a market research to understand how our customers, so we do literally calls or we send messages to understand how they see our brand position. What type of message they get from checking our feeds on our social media? What type of message they get after interacting with us? So first thing, and then developing this roadmap focus and also capitalizing on alumni has experience in project management in this type of topic for us to have this external support. And making sure that's also aligned to the needs of the Gen Z. We were just talking in the previous panel about how Gen Z works in a different way. So for example, having reels, having short videos to engage with them as well. It's not necessarily like, hey, do you want to do an exchange, but rather capitalizing on the current topics that are relevant for them. And secondly, also, for example, implementing the third phase, implement specific touch points. One part of my application, I mentioned an initiative called Use Talks. For us to be consistently, monthly engaging with people, building a community of them, building a community of people interested in Isaac as well. And then for the first step is to measure the results. For example, in terms of KPIs, we can capitalize on our social media analytics. So how has the engagement increased? We have 11.2K of followers. How many likes do we have? Okay, we have a good amount. How many comments do we have, for example? So make sure that we're the people that are engaging as well. We can measure based on comments, on growth of followers. And then when it comes to recruitment and exchanges, measuring. I have a question. How did you get to know about Isaac? Social media. If we see this is growing, then we are on the right path and we should focus on it. So we can measure this. And then also for recruitment, even the PAVA of recruitment itself. So that's how I would capitalize. Have 4 steps. I don't see it as something already starting, but rather specific stages, and then we can measure the results.
Now, which are the characteristics of things that challenged and developed through the MCP application process, and which are the 3 main takeaways that you took after the consultancy calls you read?
I can go. First of all, something that challenged me, I also mentioned my application, was the fact that I'm an overthinker as well. So if on one hand that's good, because it helps me to make decisions, on the second thing it makes me overthinker plus a perfectionist as well. I don't recommend it to anyone. The second thing that challenged me as well was in terms of focus. So I was delivering World Language Lesson and You Speak Forum as well. So it was something that Initially, I struggled to manage that as well, but I also already have action steps on how to manage that if I'm elected. Also, in terms of global perspective, for example, if we're like sometimes we think that we need to go and talk to someone from Asia to have a totally different perspective. And even having, for example, talking to people from Tunisia, I realized how different their realities are. At the same time, how many things we can adapt to our reality to make it relevant as well for Portugal. Now, in terms of takeaways, main takeaways, the first thing was the very different realities. And I'm sure this is something that's, it might be a common thing, but the fact that I was 2 months online, for example, in a much more of an external thing, I already had this in mind, but I could also understand more about the different realities. How something is working very well in one LC, but not working in that LC, or something really works for this LC, but it won't work, for example, for that other LC. Second thing was also how much we are aligned in terms of feeling that brand awareness as well is something that we do want Isaac to be stronger, to have more. And then also how much in general also concerned about the financial stability of the entity as well. So these are my main takeaways, and of course I also got the idea that I was implemented, try to implement throughout my application, for example, brand positioning as well, and also operations oriented.
No, this is the question that you have formal reviews.
Okay, so now it's the last question before you know. In the previous question regarding the main bottlenecks in recruitment, you focused only on attraction in your answer. Could you also refer to the main bottlenecks in the rest of the recruitment funnel? And what are the actions you to take to upscale this process in the entity?
Okay, perfect. Currently, for example, the main things we have is that throughout the funnel, in terms of people being contacted, for example. So we do have people have, let's say, signed up, but surely in terms of contacting, it's something I would like to be very useful, is that even actually before the recruitment, having recruitment summits as well in advance to make sure how we can capitalize on the recruitment, how to do great recruitment. And just like we have, for example, hackathons for approvals, we can have recruitment hackathons as well based on demands. And for us to do the contact people, to contact the sign-ups and work together with the LC, so having working times as well. For us to work together to contact the people and move them across the funnel, because one bottleneck is that we struggle first with the leads, and secondly, we lose people across the funnel. We lose in terms of conversion rates. So how can we keep people more engaged throughout the funnel? If we have in Christmas, for example, New Year's, so how can we keep them engaged? And for example, can we, for example, have anticipate the process so that we either have them already pre-selected before holidays, or can we, for example, engage them having nurturing content and with testimonials, for example, to keep them engaged and not lose them across the funnel. So that's how I see that besides attraction, PDA in leads, we also struggle with keeping people engaged throughout the funnel as well. And this is how I would solve it for the bottleneck.
Please be back at 07 for us to start with the next round.
We're starting at 07, so at what?
She said 10 minutes.
We're starting in
7.
okay. We're starting in 10 minutes, so at 37, I'm closing the mic and we'll open again. We're starting. Here, how are you?
So you find it correct to make fun.
It's happy leaving us. It's happy.
Yes,
I will say it.
you can find for your love very well.
She was in the. I can call her.
Mas sujado, é o meu.
Ai, você já dá grita.
Eu só preciso de uma
Where's your successor? Membership?
I'm here.
Cadê?
I'm here.
No, but in the future.
I'm still the current.
Teach.
I will. What's the deal? I don't know what she is. Não tem agora. Pois não. Não está aqui. É o pão. Na segunda folha está o pão. Não, não. Eu tenho. É que eu tenho You can stop without me. You can start without me. No problem. 7.
Did she answer? Hi there. Everybody looking for you on the bus. Okay. Ready?
Thank you.
There. From the side.
We are going to send the questions to the WhatsApp group. So the first question is you mentioned a global host campaign in your application. Please explain to us further this campaign. In your answer, consider timeline, main responsibles, information downscale, and how you will measure the success of this campaign.
The WhatsApp is not working, so
No. I can give you my phone.
just really close.
So when it comes to the Global Host campaign, overall in the first semester, I want to have a campaign that is being done internally, which means that the campaign will be specifically dedicated to the alumni of the organization, to previous EPs, and in general to our current membership. So it's a campaign internally so that we can prevent the risks, because I made a calculation and we have around 4 or 5 risks associated with the Global Host campaign, given that it wasn't very successful in the past. So the first semester will be internally, and the second semester will be externally. Who will be responsible for it? It will be the MCP ICX, together with the MCP EYNPR. MCP EYNPR will just be supporting with the strategies when it comes to the attraction for the event with the relations. So basically, what enters the responsibility of the external side is going into the UNPR, and whatever is going under the responsibility of managing the leads that are coming through the global host campaign, managing the future global hosts, and the delivery overall of the experience is going under ICX. As responsible. Given the timeline, the ideal timeline would be for the first semester, September, October, because this is also the timeline for sales, so they should be done in a similar timeline. And when we're discussing about the second semester, the ideal timeline would be March and April. The campaign should be between 3 weeks and 1 month. So each semester to have a campaign between 3 weeks and 1 month. And the main information should be downstream. Here, to explain a bit more specifically, first of all, we need to create a campaign, to create guidelines on how is the campaign supposed to be taken forward at LC level, so that the LCPPs and LCPs know. And then after downscaling the campaign, we need to set clear way of working with the LCs to make sure that the campaign is being implemented and that they are approaching the leads and the people that are responsible overall. And how will I measure the success of the campaign? It's basically premises achievement when it comes to the leads for recruitment, and then with the global costs. That's it.
Thank you. Now, in your application, you mentioned that what makes you suitable for the role is the fact that you make people follow your vision. That said, you have the next few minutes to simulate that you are in the next impulse in a session, and you have to present your vision to the whole group.
Hello, Isaac in Portugal. I am Andrea. The vision for this year is Act for Disruptive Growth and Choose to Live in Portugal. I'm going to explain to you what does it mean. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the concept of acting for disruptive growth or what does disruptive growth means, but in general terms, disruptive growth refer to development of a specific product or a project in a big scale. So for example, if in the current moment we're having 5 approvals, we want to reach 200 approvals in the next semester. What does it mean? Having a disruptive growth is actually being able to change the current context of Isaac in Portugal. It means being able to change the mindset of the people that are in Portugal through the exchanges that we're doing, and it means being able to be present everywhere in order to make sure that our actions are being relevant for the external environment. What do I mean by saying you need to choose to lead for Portugal? I mean that every person in this entity needs to be proud and needs to make the choice of being present, of acting every day, of taking consistent action to make sure that we're fulfilling our vision. And choosing means that you're the person responsible for your area, means that you're the person who is responsible for everything that needs to happen. This is what acting for disruptive growth and choosing to lead for Portugal means. And at the end of the day, everything that we're doing is for you to develop and to grow. It's for the young people that we're working with, and overall, it's to make the world a better place.
Okay. Now, you talk about the PEL program. What will be the strategy to ensure that the ABs will support it, considering this an initiative that will cost money for them, since they will need to travel to Lisbon, Portugal, and Coimbra?
learn things from them. It's basically a program that is supposed to help with the capacity building. So the value proposition of it is to support the LCVP in its future position. And why I'm saying this is because usually the timeline for this initiative should be in the first quarter of the semester, in the next semester. So this program is made specifically for the LCVPs that are lacking specific skills to be able to join. In terms of strategies, the first strategy and the first action plan that I'm seeing currently is to be done in a hybrid format, so that it's also easier to be understood because it will be a new project. So first of all, we need to understand what are the skills that we're lacking in a specific person and how can we actually tackle this through the program. So the first thing that we need to focus on is making sure that we're trying to understand if this problem can be also tackled through an online format, and then if not, then we can also send a person physically in DLC. This is the first thing. The second thing is from each other. It's not a program that's supposed to take money from them, but it's a program supposed to help them. And for example, in that space, they have, for example, 2 days where they go in the weekend and
Okay. Now, what kind of evolutions do you envision for the capacity building of each layer from member to MCP in order to increase our exchange volume?
when it comes to the capacity building, I think everyone will need to have sales capacity because currently we're missing. And by sales capacity, I mean, for example, approaches, how to do approaches, how to contact the company, how to have a first meeting, how to do negotiations, how to do properly follow-ups. This is the first topic in terms of work that should be done for everyone. And then when it comes to the higher layers, I think we need to focus a lot on, for example, project management, product understanding, and also to focus on specific topics that team leaders need. For example, how to work under pressure, how to learn how to manage the people on a basic level. Then when we're discussing about this, it's important to understand the operations. It's important to understand how to work in synergies because currently this is a big bottleneck that we're having inside LCs because people don't know how to work in synergies very well with each other. And it's overall understanding how to develop your people, how to make your people grow, how to work in different layers because we have VPs that are working with team leaders, that are working with the members. And when it comes to LCPs, I think the most important thing is operations understanding because LCPs need to act like the operations head of their LCs. And then we have also the tracking part, how to track it as an LCP, how to manage an LC as an LCP, and everything that falls under that, and overall how to do management of the EB team through the LC, and specifically cultural elements, because I think from LC, VP level, from EB level, people need to know what is an audit model, people need to know how to plan, people need to know how to have a strategic vision and how to follow it around. That's it.
Now, can Can you explain why should the MCP focus on expansions, having in mind that the LCs that we have right now needs a lot of development?
Okay, the first reason is because growing number of LCs means growing number of people that we have in the entity, means growing the number of exchanges that we have in the entity, which is kind of obvious. The second reason is that overall having one or two expansions means taking maximum 30% of an ODGB, and currently we have the MCP POD, which is also MCP finance, so the focuses are very split between each other, but considering the next year we'll have only an MCP POD, it will be easy to focus on expansions and LC management. The third thing would be the fact that stabilizing the LCs and overall making sure that the LCs are growing and that are being healthy is not only a project that should be dependent on OT. I think it's a project that should depend on the whole MC because everyone is doing network management, everyone is downscaling information, everyone is contributing on the education of the members. So it's not only an OD responsibility. The only thing that the OD is responsible for is the part of LC management, in which we're discussing about LC plannings, replannings, how we're actually downscaling the information, and how are we doing the network management so that it's focused on exchange and on growth overall. Yes, I think these are the main reasons why it's not so. It's not a big focus, to be honest, but I think it should be something we keep on growing as an entity. Because just because we have progress in the entities, it does not mean that we cannot have at least one or two LCs that we're working. And here, I also wanted to add the fact that when it comes to expansions management, we can also have ESTs to be working with expansions. For example, this semester we had an EST to be the main responsible for the expansion, besides the MCT. So we can also have a structure inside the EST that can focus on expansions management. It's not only the MCPP or the responsible.
Now, according to your research about Portugal, where should the 8th LC/expansion be located and why?
So I did not do very deep research on this, but given that we currently had an LC, I would consider Aveiro, even though we did not work very well in the last years. I know it's a project that we can try to move on, but it will also be a project that will be taken forward in the next months. I think we need to do a better analysis to understand more what are what are the places and what are the cities where we have a high number of students inside the university. So what would be a good market for us? Then what would be the feasibility of running the product and how can we work with it? But at the current moment, I believe that the best option would be Aveiro, but I did not do a lot of extensive research on this because it is a project that I believe should be taken forward starting with the second semester.
Now, through this vision, I want to ensure Isaac in Portugal starts achieving its full potential. I want to create, together with my team and with the plenary and unshakable Isaac in Portugal, a strong brand whose purpose is to do exchange. Through this vision, I want to impact over 20,000 young Portuguese people. Why do you think Isaac in Portugal doesn't achieve its full potential currently? What are the three main changes that will lead us to do that, and how will you ensure it as MCP?
All right. I think the first problem is the fact that we don't have the needed number of members to be able to run our products properly, and also the membership that we're having doesn't have full capacity to operate in terms of people either don't have capacity in terms of operations, either don't know how to lead the other people. So overall, this is one of the problems. Then the second problem is that we're not currently being constant. We still have products in which we have a long process time, for example, more than 2-3 weeks for a GB project, for example, for an EP, or if we're talking about GPA, we have APs that are staying 1 month, 2 months, 3 months in the process. And then the third thing would be that we're not very customer centric, and we're also not very visible in terms of brand awareness. So we have a lot of problems in terms of university. How is the university seeing us? We have problems in terms of EPs being interested in what we're doing and how we're actually approaching them. And I think we also don't know how to approach the young people most of the time, so we don't know how to work with them. Now, what are the changes that I will see? First of all, in the membership, as I said, currently we're working on the recruitment, and I think that this semester will also be crucial in the way that we'll work with our members and how we'll change the culture inside the entity to make sure that we have an exchange-oriented culture. Second of all, how we're actually building a capacity in the current membership and how we're actually ensuring that these people understand the value of Isaac and why we do Isaac. And I believe that this happens through XPs and through actually going through exchanges, through leaderships, people actually going through the funnel. And then the third thing would be ER. And by ER, I've been focusing on university relations and focusing on actions that are supporting operations specifically at local level. How am I going to support as MCP? First of all, through the structure that I have. As you saw, I have an EYMPR that is supposed to have many operations and also to build EWA. The second thing would be through the coaching and to the way of working with ELCs, because I think we really need to start working closely with ELCs, plan together with them, have a growth path for them, like specific action plans for each LC. And then the third thing, BOP management, because if BOP is aligned, then we can definitely achieve this goal.
What will be your unique contribution in lead, manage, and represent Isaac in Portugal in the 2025-26? Why are you the most suitable person for this role?
All right. Okay, so in general, when it comes to the lead part, I believe that, as I said before, I can definitely I will be able to make the entity follow the vision. And overall, I think one of my biggest strengths in leading part would be active listening towards my people and actually having very adaptable strategies to fit each person and trying to create a team that is working together towards the same goal, basically starting. So overall, we'll be trying to focus a lot on the team experience of my MC and then also on the VOP. And when it comes to manage, I think it's also helping me that I've had an LCP experience, so that I do know how to manage operations and how to work with operations overall. And also, given my experience, I have experience in operations, I have experience as LCP, I have experience in external, and I also have experience in MX currently. And when it comes to represent, I've been PD for last year, so I pretty much know how to represent externally. The only bottleneck is that I don't speak Portuguese, but for this also I have BD and PR and IWA, which are separate now, to help me do that. So I think this is mainly it, and I can definitely say that I have a very good external understanding in general, even if we're talking about an entity that I haven't been part of currently. And overall, I can definitely say that I have a strategic vision and long-term vision for the entity. That's it.
Now, which was your main realization of your term from your MC term so far? How will you capitalize it on your MCP term?
I believe that the biggest realization that I had was the fact that we at MC level were very far from the membership, especially members, team leaders, EPs. And I think that's something that I really realized was the fact that we really need to be adaptable in terms of strategies, and we really need to understand a bit better what are we lacking in terms of understanding and in terms of strategic long-term strategies, but also short-term strategies in order to be able to grow our membership. Either if we're talking in terms of organizational development, either if we're talking about membership experience, either if we're talking growth in operations. So I think that this was the biggest learning that I had, and overall how will I capitalize it as or in my MCP term. I believe that the first thing would be it would really help me. It really helps me that I understood this right now, so I will also know how to guide my MC team in the future to also be more adaptable in terms of strategies. And also, I think when it comes to my MC team, I believe that I can really guide them to be very LC oriented. For example, start planning together with LC their goals. As I said, making growth bets, trying to create a lot of guidelines, trying to go as much and work physically with the LCs and so on. So this is something that I will try to capitalize on, because I feel that by being present physically, it's easier to understand what are the laggings. For example, if we're coming into a hackathon, or if we're coming, 2-3 days in a visit, it's easier for us to understand what are your bottlenecks comparing if you just have a call and tell you, okay, you need to do this and this. So yes, I think this would be the main thing that I would capitalize on. And overall, I will also try to test out new theories, because what I got from now is that the plenary of ICT in Portugal is in general very open to changes and ideas, especially if they are well argumented. So I think I would really try to come up together with my MC with specific innovation in general. For example, when we're talking about marketing, because I feel that this is the area that needs a lot of innovation, the rest of operations area need more of a consolidation of the processes that we're currently having.
No, which are the characteristics or things that challenge and developed you through the MCP application process, and which are the 3 main takeaways that you took after the consultancy calls you had?
All right. When it comes to the characteristics or things that challenged me overall during my MCP application process. I think one thing was understanding fully the Portuguese people, because I feel that this is still something that I need to understand. I understood a bit better like how are the Portuguese people and how they're working, but I still feel that this is something that I need to understand a bit better, like learn a bit more about the people, and how to create strategies that are being more adapted to them and how to approach them in specific moments. Overall, I would say operations management in terms of strategies, because I am a mix and I am working with operations currently, but I haven't been operations in the last year or 2 years, so this is still something that I'm still currently working on, and this is why I've also tried to come up with more strategies in terms of operations, also throughout my application and after I submitted my application, because I did want to understand a bit better the products, how to work with them, how to also support DLCs. Well, some things that I developed, I think I developed way more my external understanding of Portugal, of the business environment, of the young people in general, I think in Portugal. The second thing, I do believe that I got to understand a bit better how operations work in general and as in Portugal. And also I got to understand a bit better the finance. So I think this is a really good thing that helped me. I understood better how finance works at MC level. I mean, I understood before, but like understanding more in depth. Also at LC level, and in general, I think organizational development is something that I really got to develop. Yes, and three main takeaways. First of all, I think I understood way better the mindset of the people, given some specific topics, for example, operations, how do we see the university, how do we see EWA, for example, how do we see, I don't know, specific products being developed. Then the bottlenecks that we're currently having in the area, and then specific strategies that I got, for example, in terms of marketing, in terms of the global cost and the accommodation. This is also something that I got within my post. And overall, I think I also got to understand a bit better how to adapt the network services that are offering both me as MCP in my strategy, but both my MCP, so that it's more useful and oriented towards the management.
Now, provide us with three concrete improvements for criteria and individual execution of MCP role.
All right. I think the first one would be regarding improvement points of BOP management. I think one thing that I would improve, I would be a bit more close with the BOP, and I would also offer more support in terms of like also personal, but also operational support to the BOP. I know that also the coach is offering operational support, but I think that also the LCP, the BOP or the LCPs can focus more, can support also them on this. And also to build more capacity in the BOP. Then when it comes to alumni management, I think this is still something that I would improve. And overall, when it comes to operations management, more specifically into how some projects were downscaled, on how on how specific projects were downscaled, how we were working with the timeline, and how we were working with LCs with timelines in general and deadlines. Yes, I think this would be the main things. Basically, I would downscale things more in time. I would focus a bit more on the BOP management, especially because now we have a new BOP, so they need capacity building, they need different kind of touch points. And alumni management, I would be a bit more focused on restarting the relationships with the alumni.
So, I think this is the last question. So, how do you see that your term as MCP is bringing continuity to what MC Core started to do for Isaac in Portugal? And what are the three things you will build on, and three things you innovate / do differently?
All right. When it comes to continuity, I think something that we did very good as MC4 is the exchange mindset. It got the plenary and overall the mindset that the plenary has. The second thing is MC2LC relationships. I think that this is something that we really managed to improve since the last MC terms, and then representation. Currently, I think we all notice that Isaac in Portugal is very well represented by the MC and also by the LCPs. What I would innovate, I think I would have a bigger focus on external relations, but this was also happening due to the lack of HR due to the lack of pipeline for MC, which didn't allow us to have a bigger structure. Then I'd have a more present marketing overall, because I feel that yes, marketing is present and we're having activities and everything, but I feel that we can innovate a bit more and we can support more DLCs, especially when it comes to university relations. I would also put focusing more on grants and public funds that we can access, especially for our GB project, because I think it's a nice opportunity. And overall, the partnership with Erasmus at national level, which does not really exist, but I think it's something we can capitalize on and make it work. And overall, I would also say the timeline of some touch points. Why am I saying this? For example, if I would be selected MCP, I would like, for example, the next coaches to start having touch points with the LCs starting in July, so that they can get to know each other better before they actually start their term, and they can build on right before the plannings, because we usually connect the coaches and the LCs right close to the planning. So I think we can do it earlier, so that we can also have a better strategic approach in terms of planning, and we can also give better directions on how to grow the LCs. I think that's it.
It's done.
We have 10 minutes break. See you in 10 minutes. These people like to read the time. Stupid.
Tarek sent in our group saying, I need to pay something in the room. To pay? I don't know what he means by that. Maybe he meant fee, but I don't know why he meant fee in the room.
Everyone can hear us in the live.
Tarek's 5 minutes. Can you shout for Tarek? Go Tarek! Oh, he's coming. Hi there, Yellow.
Maybe it's spray in the room.
Oh, that makes sense.
But it's
No,
That's
aspetta,
Wednesday,
aspetta, aspetta, e tu estás como...
No, but it's
No, tu,
spray from
como
like
tu
this.
teu.
Oh, he did pay. Okay. I take back anything I said. Respect. Okay. Are we ready?
Já toquei. Não quis que tenha. We are going to send the questions in the WhatsApp group, okay? So yes, good luck. First question. In your application, you mentioned 1K approvals by the end of 2026. Considering that in the last 3 years we have not been able to achieve our plannings, what makes you believe that we can have such an exponential growth? Mention 3 things in common since 2022 to now that are keeping us from having the 100% finish.
So, in general, starting from what I noticed before going on to creating what I want in terms of numbers, I saw what we're doing currently and considered the ratio and the speed that we are growing from core to pulsar. And if you check what we have done also based in a Q, in a semester, based on the whole year, we are growing 90% in terms to the previous year. And if you consider this in the way that we are currently working with our EBs, with the exchange mindset, with how we are doing processes, the evolutions that we have in the way that we are doing processes and building a more stable basis on the SOPs and the way that we work, I think that this is something that we have currently as a basis where we can build upon. So, if we consider the fact that currently we have 90% growth and considering that with the way that we are working as MC Corp, we can actually reach the goal that we have towards the end of summer in the approvals. It is only considering that we have planned achievement, 40% growth to get to 700 approvals by the end of my term, which can also be the basis long-term for ISEC in Portugal to reach 1K approvals. Now, something that I think that is actually affecting a lot how we are fulfilling or not the plan achievement that we have is the way that we are fulfilling positions in the organization, especially in EB structures, which people we are putting where, and this is something as you can see from a pattern from 2022, where we either have lack into the EB pipeline or we even like close areas. So if you notice patterns, we have a lot of uncertainty or not that much of stability in the products that we have, both in the LCs and also in the focus that we have as an entity. So through the years, we have changed twice the focus from GD to GV, and also that in all of the LCs, we have opened or closed areas not even not even being able to maintain it from one to the next step. So yes, one thing is how we fulfill the structure, and this is affecting on that. Another thing is how we have brand awareness and the way that our ASs are currently being positioned in the offices and universities, because this is something also that I got a lot through the calls that I had both with elects currents and with previous MCPs. The fact that we are not quite a lot established in the way of capitalizing all of the campus in a big percent. So this is actually affecting a lot of the way that we are doing activities in the university and how this is bringing results to marketing, and then how this is being converted actually from sign-up to applicant, which we all know is a major problem currently. And the third thing that I have noticed is how we are working with recruitment, which is why I have as a big focus in my application, as you noticed, and the fact that we are not reaching the maximum also recruitment. So there is the thing that we plan for really high goals, or we plan for however someone can actually evaluate the plan achievement that they do and the goal setting. And we cannot actually fulfill the rec structure that we set. We are not getting as many members as we are planning. So I think all of this are contributing to that. Give me a moment. No. Yes, that's right.
No, imagine you're in October, despite the changes, and despite the changes you've already tried to implement in the entity, you still have an entity that's not very connected to its purpose and not very results oriented. In none of the months have you reached more than 30% of plan achievement, and despite several conversations you've had with the POP, nothing has changed in terms of results. Simulate part of the session you want to give at impulse to get people to believe in and fight for the 1K exchanges you have planned.
So, currently we all know what is happening, we can see how the current state is, we know what is our personal and overall the ICE contribution to what is happening, we can see how ICE in Portugal is going, based on what we've built and also based on the ambitions and achievements we want to have. I want you all to think about how ISEC is evolving to yourselves. What has ISEC given to you? You can take a minute, think about this, a few seconds, not actually a minute. How is ISEC making you actually a leader? How are you developing value-driven leadership in ISEC? This is something that is actually making you better. And something that we should consider and that should actually be there to drive us is that we are not just ISEC in Portugal, we are ISEC for Portugal. Because it's really important actually to establish what we're doing as ISEC, to be more broad in all of the leads that we have and see what we're doing wrong. There is no need for us to just stay in the situation and not change the things that we are doing. Currently, I'm pretty sure that everyone knows, one, how ISEC is making them better and how they find themselves being leaders, and two, what is one small thing that they can change in their actions and in the things that they are doing in order to make all of our processes evolve even more. So why aren't we doing it? It's time to do it now. We will open everything, laptops, phones, everything, and we will start working now towards something better. There is no excuse. Whatever we are not changing it, we are actually choosing it. We are actually choosing actively to stay in the same place. So let's use all of the motivation and all of the achievements that we have to make again a bigger and greater ISEC in Portugal, because it's something that is actually driving us. It's the cause, it's the why of the organization, and it's why we are actually representing this culture. We are here to do it for Portugal.
Now, in your application, you mentioned revamping the back office GDs. Make an analysis of the current ones and tell us what will be the main changes that you think that are necessary.
So, I will start with FNL. I think that currently the way that FNL is working in the ACs is not problematic, let's say, but I think that we should actually strive more for the things that we want to see the area doing. For example, we always want people to give a more analytical view on things, a more long-term thinking. They are talking more about sustainability, seeing how things that we do in our operations and everything that we run in the LC is actually actively giving an effect more long-term. And yet we put people in back office, mostly like both on FNL and MCP, at my view and my perspective, where they are lacking either data analysis or analytical thinking. So one thing to consider first is how we are actually building our EVs and who are we allocating with what profile. Other than this, I think that currently what we need to elevate more in finance and legal is to be able to see how we can actually implement a plan of round of investment, what we can see in terms of either doing things for marketing, in terms of how we do class out, stats, and how we can see materials happening there, how we can have a round of investment also based on the budget and the way that people are already working with FNL, for events that we can do for local partnerships in ICX, which if an LC is not having ICX products, of course they can have an event that can be without GX returnees coming back from their experience. So they're also covering this part on doing a more networking event, and this can be also given by a finance side. This I will say for now. Now, in MXP, I think the main problem is the fact that we are seeing people as the psychologists of the LC. They are there to help in the problems of the people, while their position is actually strategic, and it's something they have a position that can really give many inputs to the LC of how they are working. And I think we need to find we need to add a more strategic way on the engagement plan of the LC for the members, how we can see more activities happening and how we can actually connect them with doing things based on MX standards. We need to have overall, for both sectors, a database where we see what is happening and be more tracking in the routine of what we're doing or not, a monthly analysis on the data that we get from MXP. Yes.
Just to make sure you understand the questions asking about the changes in back office. And I feel like you're suggesting more specifically for improvements for these departments, at least in my opinion. So just make sure that you can answer those with the questions asking yourself. Okay?
Thank you.
Can I continue the time?
How much time is that?
20 seconds.
45, because I said hybrid.
Okay. In the JD of MXP, we can still include how we are working on a cultural framework towards the LC, both representing the culture of the LC and how we can see this being implemented, and also the entity. For finance, also what I would propose is, since we have already our finances working towards finding accommodation, having the part of the JD, how they can work more towards fundraising and sponsorships that can also support the events that I said before. I need 2 more seconds. That's all.
Now, what kind of evolutions do you envision for the capacity building of each layer from member to MCP in order to increase our exchanges volume?
Okay, so in general, I think that creating a national training team that will be there in order to give supportingly to MXNOD the NEC, delivering it through webinars or through, let's say, small events. Mostly I'm envisioning this on a virtual level in order to be more accessible and more easy to happen. I think can actually be an evolution happening towards members team leader, towards the local level. Mostly focusing in members in how we do processes, explaining how they can be done either more simply, either how we can do it step by step and what we should be tracking or not, and then seeing what we can be upscaling or not. In team leaders, mostly having to do with how they can lead their people, understanding and adapting to the leadership styles of their teams, and how they can actually be like the person connecting the VP to the members. For VPs and LCPs, other than, mostly for VPs actually, other than the national training team, I would include alumni mentorship programs from alumni, either from a national database that we can build with the steering team, with alumni both from the local committees and also from alumni from MC side. And this would also go to LCPs. So what I'm saying is, for members and leaders and VPs to have a national training team where we see soft skills and hard skills based on the processes and the JDs of the people, and on VPs and LCPs to have the alumni mentorings. Now, this is something that I would also like to take forward into the MC team, to have alumni mentoring from either as I told you, national alumni and alumni from local committees, but also from alumni from AI in order to get a more overall perspective on different things that we can be actually bringing to our entity from their experiences. And also something that I think would be really nice to try is trying to get mentorship programs, either from sponsorships, let's say, and actually headhunting for them, either through conversations from our BD packages, from companies, in order to gain a perspective from the external environment, which can actually suggest many evolutions of the process that we are doing, and actually deeper understanding of why we are either in the same state or why we are moving forward, based on a more different and corporate environment than ICTs.
No. Having in mind the contribution of Big Speak Forum for our entity, why should we keep it next year instead of focusing on other initiatives? How will you guarantee that Big Speak Forum will have the necessary reach?
Okay, so before answering this question, I think it's really important to understand the fact that the contribution that we had is also coming from the fact that we are realizing money that the previous generation signed. Not only that we could not have brought more, but it's also something as a fact that is given. So I think that the District Forum can be an event, first of all, that is the most known event that we are doing, as I said, to the external environment. So this is something that we can capitalize even more on how we are promoting the event, which is why I am really focusing a lot on how we can build brand awareness with digital campaigns and more promotion through our social platforms. So this is something I'd say that would ensure more participation and having a bigger attraction to bring the people, with building a timeline based on how what we want the round of investment to be in terms of approvals. So basically, Youth Speak Forum can be the event that can have the biggest or only contribution to ELD approvals, and how we should actually still work on it and capitalize on it. And this is why I'm also in the structure, dividing the BDs and giving to one of them that is doing the partnership development equal, in order to have an actual focus on how we can do more specifically and strategically the whole event. And this is why I'm also keeping it in two countries, in two cities, because I think that getting a bigger reach by doing it in different cities and keeping it, we are actually reaching to more youth that maybe not know of us. Other than this, I'm not saying that I'm not focusing at other initiatives. I'm saying that this should be the starting point, and yet we can actually either bring back all the initiatives that we had, like the electricity tournament, and see how this can be adapted to the things that we are doing now, or even try other initiatives that are either given from AI, or try something that we can do, as I said, in Portugal, that would be more relevant to the Portuguese youth.
In the strategies you set, lead by essence, eyes on the goal, the jump to 1K, recognize glory, set specific MOS for the KPIs, and what is your non-negotiable goal when it comes to membership, to finances, and to operations?
Okay, so as I just told you in my opening speech, the specific MOS for Lead by Essence is to have one applicant per role in what we see in the membership experiences, and also be able to have 90% of all the positions covered by the members, which is equal to 40% growth in the people that we have. On ISO, the goal keep doing the jump to 1K. The growth is having to do, and the specific MOS has to do with exchange that we do, which was 700 approvals, and also recognizing glory. Wait, give me a moment. So, in the as on the goal, this is for the programs. For the profit, is 35K in equity, and also to be able to have 100% profitable conferences. Not that we're not doing already profitable conferences, but I think that this is something very important to have it as a standard while we do our processes. And on recognize the glory, I think since it has to do with the mutualistic cooperation, I would also have an MOS either having to do with pipeline and how we see people staying a longer lifespan in ISIC, which can be with retention rate. Now, in membership, I would say that my non-negotiables would be 100% plan achievement in recruitments in all of the areas, and also seeing 90% of retention rate from peak to peak in all of our areas, seeing that our recruitments is not just achieved only by the time that we do them, but we are actually working with good expectation setting in the way that we are working with people so that they continue in the rest of the time. And in finances, I would say fulfilling and actually paying off all of the debt. And again, going with having growth in our equity. And in operations, other than the approvals, I would say that one non-negotiable would be to see more areas running in the ACEs by actually giving and fulfilling the continuity that we have from the structures that we have built now, and how we are most working with them, with LCCs and seeing it in the ACEs.
What will be your unique contribution in lead managing represent Isaac in Portugal in the term 25-26, and why are you the best suitable person for this role?
So, I think in general, on the way, actually coming from a conversation that I had that I truly agreed on, I think that I'm getting this in order to give you more context on how I am perceiving more lead and manage. I think that in managing, we're talking mostly about how we can, apart from like team management and like resource management in the entity in terms of people. I think how I perceive it is how we are managing crisis and things happening in the entity. So I think what would be my unique contribution is the creativity that I can have in order to resolve problems and thinking out of the box on how to do things. And another thing that is actually like, I started developing it more through my MCP now in ICT in Portugal, is to be able to get a bit of more of an urgency in doing things and even like acting and managing things with fear. Now, in lead, I think it is one of the most like, important parts. And I would say that it's also showing to my vision that I think that my contribution can be leading by lessons, bringing back everyone to the way that we are working as an organization, talking more about our essence, how we can see this being distributed in our membership, and how we're actually working towards our vision and mission, as I said. And I think that I can do this leading by my strengths, which is actually one of my strengths, as you know, is communication. And I think that this is something that can be actually helpful in the way that we can continue working overall as one entity, as one ICT in Portugal. And I think that a person who is communicating can actually contribute to this more. And then you represent, other than the things that I am noticing now happening, I think that my unique contribution would be to stick to a more concrete plan with alumni management and bringing back alumni to the entity in order to interact with them more. And actually, what I would like to take forward from what I'm seeing now is to be able to represent even more in global structures in order to be able to hear ISEC in Portugal everywhere in the things that are working with AI. Now, why I think I'm the most suitable person for this role? Because I really want it. I really want to lead ISEC in Portugal. I'm really committed to ISEC in Portugal, and I promise that I will give my 110% to do it. I think that I have built a vision that is actually represented and is the one most suitable for ISEC in Portugal at this moment, in the way that we can work with brand awareness, our resources in membership, in the way that I want to see our products being developed. And I think that I have explained this in the strategies. If you have more questions, please feel free and I will explain everything even more. And I really think that I can be the one taking ISEC in Portugal from great to even greater. And all of this being done by respecting the legacy that we have as an entity, because I truly feel that I feel the spark to lead the entity, and I really want to do it.
Which was your main realization of your term from your MC term so far, and how will you capitalize it on your MCP term?
Main personal realization from this. Okay. I think mostly reflecting on like my experience currently and the fact that I am also both myself and also my team being in the team of returners. I think that's something that I understood from this and as well as working with the exes that I was coaching in the way that we were exchanging inputs is the fact that there are some things that there is no specific way that they are done. So I think that sometimes I was even like blocking myself into giving inputs and insights on things and ideas because I was like, okay, it was happening, let's say, in Greece, but it was not working. So why should I bring it here? Or we're doing this thing in a specific way. I don't think it should be changed. Or this thing was working nice in Greece. They are doing it differently here. No need to propose it. But actually, after starting sharing more of my perspective, challenging ideas, challenging the people, and also giving more inputs to things on how they could be like strategically evolved, I think that I saw that they can be things that actually can happen and give off results, which actually made me as a person even more creative in the way that I am thinking of resolutions to problems. So I think what I would capitalize more on my MCP term would be to like always be not present exactly, always being able to express everything I'm thinking of from how things can be taken forward, and actually capitalize more on the fact that we can be thinking out of the box on things, and like, I'm not saying we're not respecting how things were done, but we can actually be implementing new ideas and changing things if the situation is suitable to change, in order to see evolutions happening over in the end.
Now, in your blank page, you are stating that you want to be nominated in IC for all the awards, included Global Excellence Award. This means that we will have no debt, membership criteria, and extremely good data overall. Financially speaking, this means also that we will start paying GAP, GA. How, based on our entity financial states, you see affected us? How you are planning to achieve your blank page without harming the sustainability of the entity?
Okay, so in my blank page, you can see one of my biggest ambitions for ISEC in Portugal, which I think that it's a dream that we will actively actually go to it and make it a reality. And if you notice, it's something that is being on a more long-term basis that can happen in the next step. So this means that during my term and also what we're doing now as MCP, we are actually seeing, I think you know this, that we are focusing a lot on how we are doing the debt paying off, I'm not getting that report, and how we can actually get off with that. I think that in my term, I would focus a lot on how we can actually like get off from all of the debt and pay it off. And also something that something that I know is that we can gain membership criteria if we are doing the debt if we are fulfilling the debt payment plan. So this is something also that we can take into consideration. And other than this, if you actually notice in the structures that I have, the 2BDs, which means that we will have a big increase on how we are noticing revenue and inflows in the entity. It means that we can have a much bigger like sustainability in terms of the things that we are receiving. And also, if we focus on sponsorships that we can get in terms of money sponsorships, more in different parts from the axis, so actually bring this from the axis as I'm talking for in the finance revamping JT, and also having an alumni fundraising and donation, which can start from like even the next semester on how we are working on things as MC Core in alumni relationships, and it can be evolved through my term. I think we will reach a place where our financial stability will be in a real good level, and this will not be a problem in the way that we will actually be paying stuff.
Now, which are the characteristics of things that challenge and developed you through the MCP application process, and which are the 3 main takeaways that you took after the consultancy calls event?
I have a question. Main takeaways you mean in terms of the entity? Okay.
I can answer for this one. It's just main insights that you got. You can choose whatever recommended where the name of the aspect is what you say.
Thank you. So, I think that the most challenging part was to be able to understand all of the context of the entity, be able to have a huge puzzle of what is happening in the entity, why it reached to this stage, and understanding the history behind it. This is why, while I was having calls, I really focused on understanding more the history of the analysis, either through patterns or things that we traditionally see happening. So this was something that was challenging in order to be able to find a vision that can actually represent the entity. Other than this, on a personal challenge, I think that it was, I really got developed from the fact that I actually put myself into delivering the application, because at some point I was really afraid to do it. I thought that there were many things keeping me back. And then I actually decided to do it even through fear and having concerns. And other than this, I think three main takeaways I got are actually being reflected on the way that I have built my strategies for ASEC in Portugal in my application, which is how we are actually being in our university relationships, how are we capitalizing the campus, how we are working with all of our university stakeholders and our peer stakeholders that are existing in the university. Then, how we are doing recruitment and how we are actually focusing on the membership being developed, our members and the leaders understanding more what we're doing in ASEC and being more connected to the vision and the core of the organization. How do we see this happening in the analysis, if we actually see this happening in the analysis, and what we can do to move forward to actually deliver and develop leadership as an ASEC member program. And then, what I got as a takeaway is that there was not actually that a coherent, let's say, opinion of our external representation. And it was really interesting to see how ITSLC is actually based on how they're working locally with GMCs, with their presence on conferences, with while they are running in a local entity, how they are actually perceiving the external relationships that we have, and what are the inputs that we can do in order to move further.
No. Provide us with 3 concrete improvements for Rita's MCP in overall execution of MCP rule.
So, I think that there could be a better routine in the way that we are working as operations in terms of tracking meetings and what we're seeing overall as the evolutions and how we can actually have a structured routine on the way that we're aligning as operations in IR, let's say, and the goals that we overall want to see in the entity. On the other hand, however, I think that there is a little bit of routine with back office and the way of working with on the MXP and finance. Another thing I would say as an improvement point is, however, I do realize, and like I can say that this is something coming overall from the MC team, but I think that there could be a different way of managing through the MCP on this, on how we are downscaling things in national level, how the information is getting downscaled through the presidents and also through the VPs in terms of the time that we are doing it. And then I would say that overall, even though I really support and I really think that it's something to be taken forward, the fact that we are present in conferences, either in RPM, either as chairs and things, so on and so forth. I think there could have been more structured focuses per the timeline that the MC team and the entity is being, in order to have a bit more of a concrete time to be, like to have more presence in some things.
Yes. So the last question is, how do you see that your term as MCP is bringing continuity to what MC Core has started to build for ASIC in Portugal? And what are the things you build on and three things you innovate or do differently?
Okay, so I think that you can also get it from the way that I have spoken about things in my application and the vision that I'm bringing to the entity. I think that currently as MC Core, we are working really well and we have actually made a huge shift in the mindset of the people about exchanges, and we are actually focusing in operations in the way that we are bringing like things to the table, in the way that we are putting our resources to. Then I think that as what I would really like to continue is the way that we have enterprise cooperation and how we're working with our races, both in the way that we have the touch points, what we can see, let's say, in ICC visits, in functional visits that it was not accomplished in the timeline, but it's something that I would like to move to bring forward to my 10. And then I would say that the way that we are working in external relationships, in BD with the packages that we are working, we see that there are many different types of partnerships that we are getting. Let's say the Zurich Foundation that gave us a donation. Let's say having a card for our conferences, which is really important to us, like an interesting community around. These are things that I would like to keep and see actually happening and continuing again in my MC10. Then things that I would like to innovate or actually do differently about recruitment, changing either the timeline and also having an ongoing recruitment, which maybe could be also supported with having recruitment visits, especially for MXPs, in order to like track more what is happening. And this would not only be supported by the MCP MXP, but all of the MC team, because being in MCP, we have clarity about what is happening and we can give the strategic direction to people. Then in marketing, I would innovate more on how we're working on the content that we have in our platforms, capitalize more on the platforms that we are mostly using as youth. Let's say TikTok, I think we have really low appearance of TikTok, and we can actually build this even more, which can help us on the way that we are doing things. And I would also, in terms of marketing, try to innovate something with ambassadors, and in BD to retain more of the partnerships that we are currently having.
Amazing. So now with this, we have finished the first round of Q&A. 3 more to go. Okay, so now we're gonna go for the lunch break, which will be until 17:50. But we need to suspend the GA and then come back. Right? I don't know if I was supposed to do this for every break. Nobody needs to know. Who got to know?
I will need 3 people